Good.
Yes, sorry. Agenda review disposition, any changes?
I don't have any changes.
Okay, privilege of the floor. Would anyone like to make any comments before we get rolling? We'll have another privilege of the floor. No, everybody's good? Okay. All right, approval of October 4th minutes. Who would like to?
I'll move the approval of minutes from October 4th.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Okay. Student principal's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I apologize to have my back towards the audience. I reset the room. Go back to the regular way next committee meeting. Very busy time here. Grades close tomorrow for semester for quarter one, and we'll be mailing them home next week, and they're also available online. So quarter one will come to a close. The 15th, that'll be your next committee meeting too, and school board meeting. I think we're combining that. That'll be open house for parents. They'll have access to the grades. Open house is held here, usually in the gym, in the library, in that location. But I'll be sending home an email to parents, and I'll also be sending home a pen alert with a description of how that will work. We also, winter sports will open up the 14th. That's the date the NHIA allows us to start. So the winter sports will start then. The play is up and ready. They're putting on Grease. Performances will be on Thursday the 10th, starting at 7 o'clock. Of the 11th, Friday, the 12th, and Saturday, and Sunday, there's a 2 o'clock matinee. If you need tickets to any of those performances, please call my office and make arrangements with my administrative assistant. She'll make sure that happens. Couple of, we're ending with the fall sports, but kudos go out to Brianna Caston, who was on our golf team. She came in 33rd in the States. And our football team will be playing Pelham this Saturday in the quarterfinals. And boys and girls cross country qualify for the Meet of Champions. That will be in Hudson, I think on Saturday, starting at 10. We had one young lady, I think Addison, England. She came in 6th in the state, which is a pretty big deal. With that, Madam Chair, principal is good. Oh, I have two other requests that just came up. I need approval for 2 overnights that came to me. The first one is a youth summit that'll be held in Waterville Valley Conference Center. Danae Delphonse, we're taking a couple of our students and a couple of our unified players up to a conference for 3 days. It's an overnight. I have the proper supervision, and that's the date of the trip is the 30th, and they'll be back on December 1st. If I get a motion for that, that's the first one.
Okay, the first one, who would like to make that?
Thank you.
May I ask questions? How many going? And
4 students, 2 chaperones.
4 students?
4 students, 2 chaperones.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so you made that motion, Paul, seconded by Greg. Any other discussion or questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining?
Thank you. My second overnight is from the Quiz Bowl team, and they're asking to compete in a Central New York History Bowl competition on December 17th at Bishop Ludden High School in Syracuse, New York. It will require a 2-night stay over in Syracuse. Again, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 students going in the proper supervision. The coach for the Quiz Bowl is Mr. Troy Harris, and I'll be creative. It looks like I have grant money that will cover all the admissions and the competition. They'll also combine this with a college visitation too. I think they're going to go visit Syracuse University too while they're there. So it is an overnight, leaving on the 16th, 2 nights, and the return date on 18th. It's for, again, 5 students and 2 chaperones. Need a motion?
I'll make-
Motion to approve that.
Great.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Concludes my report.
Committee project report, teaching and learning.
Yes, we met on October 18th. Yes, October 18th. Mrs. Prescott was kind enough to take notes for me, so I'm gonna go with her very thorough notes. We approved the minutes, and Mrs. Welch brought forth a new program proposal that would be provide another elective for students, and Sean O'Brien came to review that budget and certification requirements for us. Mr. O'Brien explained that initially a needs assessment was completed, and then a committee was formed, including a consultant, to help submit the proposal for approval to the DOE. It was approved the same day it was submitted. The cost of the program would be $150,000, including a teacher's salary, supplies, and books. This course will use outdoor leadership program competencies and requires a business certification. The teacher's schedule will be the first 2 blocks in the building for planning and extended learning opportunities, and the last 2 blocks outside at the Campton facility for biking, canoeing, etc. The program will use a school van and lease the Campton facility and equipment. There will be 2 sections with a capacity for 9 students each. This program was previously covered by a grant, but will now need to be included in the budget. This will be the only program of its kind in the state and one of 5 in the country. After questions and discussion, a motion was made by Mr. McCormick, seconded by Ms. Sullivan, to move to the full board for approval. The vote was unanimous. So do you want to vote on that? Do we vote on that now? Does anybody have, we were going to review, Phil asked for,
The competencies were handed out at the last
At the
meeting, and
last
if anybody had any question in regards to that.
does anyone have questions about the packet that he gave us? I had one question. It looks like Perkins Fund was going to help with this. Do you know what the amount?
Randy has to wait for that. It depends on the equipment they're asking for, and obviously if we get certified. What I do is I plan for it in the budget, and then he puts it in the Perkins, and we get reimbursed on that one. I won't know until the program gets going, and I know what kind of equipment they're looking for.
Does the Perkins generally cover just the equipment part of it?
Yeah,
Okay.
it covers equipment, it also covers professional development.
Okay.
The price is probably around $110,000 we get for our 5-6 programs. And Randy does a great job of monitoring that, putting that together. But
Okay.
this program will get some Perkins money.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Mr. Parsons? Okay.
All right, so now we need a motion for, what was the title?
What's the title of that?
Coming from committee, but we'll need a motion on the floor.
See if I can find it. Outdoor Rec Leadership Program.
Outdoor Rec Leadership Program, who would like to?
Make a motion first.
Great, okay. Seconded by Greg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Okay, great.
Okay, and then we had some discussion on the co-curricular club that was up for appeal and review. This was the pro-life club that Mr. Parsons reported on. And Mrs. Welch had the club put on hold while he investigated certain accusations of significant educational disruption to the school community. Mr. Parsons investigated all the allegations that were reported to him, and he found no education disruptions. They also proposed a name change to Voices for Life. Mr. Brinkley inquired about procedural status of the issue. It was explained that the administration has approved this club and put it on hold while the investigation was completed. As the accusations were unfounded, the club may proceed with its new name as approved by the administration, or the board could vote to eliminate all non-curriculum related student clubs. And so this was moved on to the board unanimously for tonight for a vote on that. And do we have any questions right now for Mr. Parsons or Ms. Welch?
Are you looking for a vote to approve what you already did? You know,
So originally, the club was brought up with, we had a lot of public comment the last time on both sides. We put the club on hold when there were some, reports of disruption or accusations between teachers, students that were at the public comment. We put that on hold. We did already say at that original board meeting that the Bobcats for Life piece would not be the name, that we would take out the Bobcats. So that was 2 meetings ago. At committee, we talked, Mr. Parsons talked about all the investigations that happened between whether it had students involved or teachers involved, or outside folks involved as well. So all of those were investigated, and based on Mr. Parsons' opinion and the outcomes of those investigations was not considered an educational disruption. The board's role in this is to determine whether or not it is an educational disruption based on the information you heard from us, from the public, as you took all those comments under advisement too. So at this point, I think we discussed it, you discussed it a lot at the last committee meeting. So at this meeting, we have to, I would like for you to make a decision to move forward. The new name for it is,
It says Voices for
Voices
Life.
for Life.
oh, I thought it was
Yeah.
Youth.
No,
Okay,
Voices.
Voices for Life, okay.
Okay, thanks for defining all that.
Yeah,
That's helpful.
It's hard to just.
Question.
So do you want a motion and then a second and then any discussion? Is that what you want, a motion? Because I can make a motion to word it so that if people, so I move that the club proceed as approved with the new name Voices for Life, as there was no evidence of a material and substantial interference to the school community, right? Is that the way you wanted it?
If
That's what I would word it that way. Motion to approve, that the club proceed as approved and with the new name Voices of Life, as there was no evidence of material and substantial interference.
Okay, great. Seconded by Greg. All right, discussion, questions? Everybody's good, so you ready to vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining? Okay, great, thank you.
If I just may add to that piece, I would like to have Mr. Parsons relook at the handbook again. There's just a one-liner on how to create clubs, and you know, this is the first time in my role as a superintendent, that a new club has kind of come through this way. I just think it would be helpful if we just added a few more details, more about the role of the advisor, their student-led clubs, just a little bit more clarity, basically duplicating what Barbara Lohman, your attorney, advised, just on procedure. Just because it's just a one pretty vague line, and it doesn't really give the details on what
Right.
that looks
I
like.
will work with Janet and at your next subcommittee, have a proposal for you that will be added to the student handbook. It adds a little more language of how we do it.
Great. Okay, Maureen, do you have more?
Yes. New course proposals were brought forth by Mr. Parsons. A first aid course, which would be a science elective with no budgetary costs. And it's a hands-on course and prepare students for summer jobs and future careers. And then he presented a digital illustration course. It would be for upper level art students, 1 semester course as well, and would have no budgetary costs. Lastly, presented a dance theater instructor that he's considering, looking into certification and course syllabi. It could include dance, acting, theater, etc. And he will continue putting all the information together to present to the board. Oh, so at this meeting, are you
Yes.
looking for that?
Yes,
Okay.
it's in your budget.
Okay. All right.
I have the numbers.
So that came to the board for approval for all 3 of those. Do you want them separately or together?
So it'd be cleaner if you can do the position, the additional teaching position for dance and theater as one vote, and then the 2 additional courses, because there's no budget implication, on the 2 other courses. So you can do that as a separate motion.
Okay, great. Who wants to do that?
I'll make a motion for the first aid course instructor and the digital illustration instructor, would that be right?
Yes.
Courses.
Courses. Courses.
Yeah.
Great.
All right, I'll second that.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Great, thank you. And who would like to make the second?
Well, I'll make a motion to, for the dance instructor, to accept the position for the dance instructor. Would that be?
Great, seconded
Wording.
by.
I'll second.
Great, thank
I
you.
have a question
Yes,
about that.
discussion.
Do you have a budget for that
Yes,
position? You have that in the budget
it's
too?
in the budget.
It is.
Should we vote on that before we see the budget, or do you want to?
If you can vote on it now, and then we put it in the budget just in case, because it was a unanimous vote coming out of the committee. And we
Okay.
figured if it did go down, we just pull the position from the
Okay.
budget.
All right.
So it's in
Okay.
there as anticipated.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Great, good question. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, abstaining? Great, okay, thank you.
And that's all I have.
Great. Okay, school operations, now that's Peter and he's away.
Peter's away, I can review it real quick if you want. We just reviewed the latest capital improvement plan. There was a brief discussion about the possibility of putting lights on the soccer field and the football field. We are still awaiting those quotes that are coming in, so I'll have that for you at the next meeting. And, you know, I think 2 things looking at that is, you know, yes, it's one thing to put it on to have a philosophical discussion about it as well. Kind of the long-term plan for the athletic fields. I will have Todd Austin at the next meeting, so if you have any questions for him in regards to that piece. The other big projects that we're looking at is to finish off, you know, looking at our ESSER funds and the HVAC systems, and then finishing up a bathroom renovation as well. That's it for that, for the CIP. The other piece we were looking at is public comment. Back in the spring, we looked at public comment and having a policy. So from committee, we were asked to bring some examples that were pushed to the next committee meeting to look at that. And then the last agenda item we looked at was a recognition for Tom Underwood, who was a coach here for several years. Larry Gibson was here to present a proposal, basically. So you have a policy in place right now. So tonight, it was moved to, from committee to get that, to form a subcommittee to look at this and follow that policy. So I have that policy here. Basically, it's a couple board members. I would assume Todd would be on it, maybe
Yes.
a baseball coach, and I would say Larry Gibson from the public.
He did get in touch with me and wants to be on, yeah.
And that's your member. If you want any, that's just kind of my initial thoughts of the committee, but, and Peter wanted to bring it to the board to see if anybody was interested in serving on that committee.
I bet Peter does.
Volunteer.
He's not here.
Okay. And do you want us to vote that we're recognizing that committee, or?
Well, we have to, I think you have to decide tonight if, we do need a couple board members on that committee, 1 or 2, I think, if anybody, so we're gonna see if anybody was interested.
Okay. Barbara would like to be on it, okay, great. Okay. Anyone else?
All right, so we'll be in touch. Barbara, you're okay with the other members of that committee? Do you want to add anybody else, or?
No, I think I should go on it too, because I got a lot
Yeah.
of information behind it, so.
Yep, perfect.
And Peter, you said was gonna.
Peter.
Oh, you want to put Peter on?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they said Peter.
I talked to Peter today, and yeah, he said he'd be on it.
Trials and tribulations,
And
of missing a
because
meeting.
Kyla, he's saying a subcommittee of his committee, so he,
No,
Yeah,
that's
I'd be thrilled.
how he's wording it, so.
so,
Sounded good to me.
maybe Janice can set up the first meeting, we'll get the members together, and you can meet your own.
Yes.
Great, thank you. That's it.
Okay, great. All right, discussion items. We've kind of
Yeah.
covered a lot,
We
and I
did.
guess we're jumping down to the budget review, because
We are gonna jump down to the budget review, so I passed out preliminary budget to all of you. And what I'll do is, instead of going line by line, kind of tell you the significant increases or decreases or any other questions. like I said earlier, we anticipated the additional teaching position in the budget as well as the new CTE program, so that's included in this first draft. So I'll briefly go over it, take the next 2 weeks to kind of review it, see what you think of the numbers. Any questions, bring back to the next meeting, and we will certainly address those and move in the direction the board would like to go in. So I'll just start with page 1 real quick. You'll see at the top, under salaries, line 2, that includes the additional teacher. It's up $162,842, and that is mainly due to the position and the collective bargaining agreement, so that includes exchanges of staff as well.
Also, Kyler, it includes a grant position too, that'll be
Yep,
funded back to us.
yep. Jumping down to line 19, you'll see is software, and there's a decrease of about $18,645. All that is, we move that to a different line, so you'll see an increase there. It's just more appropriate in a different budget line.
Do you know which line that's moved to?
Yeah, I'm gonna point it out to you on page 3.
Okay.
Page 2, there's no major differences. I'm gonna skip to page 3, and I'm gonna bring you down to line 101, software costs, and you'll see it's up $20,869, and again, that's where that money moved over, and it put in the rest of the software costs for all of our instructional programs. So we rely a lot on digital curriculum and resources at this point, so you just see an increase in that kind of from year to year. Jumping to page 4, line 123. You'll see photographic arts, and really we're outfitting the Mrs.
Sanborn's,
Sanborn's lab
IMAC.
with an IMAC lab, so that is being updated.
They're well beyond their use of the labs.
Jumping to special education, page 5. So as you know, a lot of these numbers fluctuate from year to year based on the caseload and the needs of the students at the high school. Right now, salaries is just changes per the collective bargaining agreement. I'll bring your attention down to line 170, purchase services. So you'll see that's up $87,311, and those are for individual programs that may have to do with where we have to bring in a behavior specialist, an autism specialist. So those are all contracted services directly tied to an individual student. Jumping down to line 175, so that's your out-of-district tuition. Right now, we have several students out of district. I can't get into the details of it because of confidentiality, but I will tell you the cost of a student to go out of district has risen significantly. Less than 5 or 6 years ago, we were looking at $150,000 about per year to send a student out of district. It has gone up as much as, and this is your in-state programs have gone close to $400,000 per student, based on the needs, the staffing. So that is a significant jump. So we didn't get hit too bad with that piece, but like I said, it just changes from year to year of what the needs are, but I just thought to make you aware of that.
Is this, are you pretty comfortable with this figure that, I mean, based on, we track 8th grade in the ascending districts and everything, so this is the best guess at this point?
Yeah, so this includes, yes, this is the best guess, including core placements and everything else, so this is.
Right, but that's a figure that's beyond our control, so it could change
Right.
at any time.
It could change by $1 million in either direction at any given day.
I have a quick question about that too.
Yeah.
I know you try to keep them in-house when you can.
Yeah.
How often does that get assessed as far as?
It's assessed multiple times a year.
Okay.
There's sometimes that we are obligated to pay, if, say, a foster child is taken from here, moves to a different town, place, we have no say over that, but if they were taken from one of our towns, then we're responsible for the cost. So
Okay.
those are some pieces those are most of the issues.
We do our real due diligence to keep them here.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay, thanks.
Any other questions on that? That's usually one of the bigger ones to look at. Jumping to page 7. You will You'll see line 226 includes the new CTE program under applied technology, as well as the facility and equipment down on 235. So a lot of the outdoor equipment as well as the use of the facility. There will be a classroom here, but like Maureen said, there'll be an off-site component that has all the kayaks and the facilities where they'll be based out of. And then you'll just see in line 255, the supplies for the program in there as well. Jumping to, so you'll go through, there's not a lot of changes throughout the rest of the CTE programs, which is page 8. Page 9 is co-curricular. There's not any changes in there. What's reflected in the co-curricular salaries is what's in the collective bargaining agreement. So not all co-curricular positions are paid. It's just what's negotiated. Jumping to athletics, which is page 11 and 12, I'm going to bring you right to, what was that?
Replace.
Sorry, I'm going to bring you to page 14. Athletics is multiple pages. So we're on a uniform cycle. I think we go through this every year. So up next year is uniforms for football,
Soccer.
boys soccer, girls soccer, and boys lacrosse helmets you'll see in there. So that's the major piece. Obviously, the football uniforms are significantly more. They're up $19,980, and then the other uniforms for the soccer is about $5,000 a piece, and then the helmets in addition to that.
And they run on a 5-year cycle.
Yeah. Any questions on those? All right, no major changes on page 15, which is your school guidance services, school counseling services. No major changes on page 16, which is your associated services like guidance secretary, medical services. No major changes there. Your nursing services on page 16, which is line 575. We contract out with Spear Memorial Hospital for the nurse, so that's not just the salary in there, that's substitutes, it's professional development, it's all the liability on top of it. They cover all of it. Psychological services, so you have 2 positions on lines 578, both your student assistance coordinator as well as your school psychologist is included in that line, if you were wondering about that. Page 17 moves into more special ed services, so your speech therapy, and you'll see in line 607, professional tech services is contracted service for speech therapy. So that has gone up, and that's based on your individual caseload, so it's special ed, not a lot of control under that one. Same with on page 18, you'll see line 625, that's occupational therapy. Again, that's tied directly to individual students. Line 633 is your professional development. I know that's tied right to your collective bargaining agreement. Line 645, educational media services, that's all your learning commons, so the staff involved at the learning commons as well. Page 19, line 663 is your library instructional staff, so that's your assistant in there. The next couple of pages don't change much, so it's basically your line 678, your school board services pretty much stay the same. Page 20 covers your school board secretary, treasurer, election services. Most of those don't change. I do want to bring your attention to line 714, which is the audit, and you'll see that has gone up. And basically, since there were so many federal grants that Pemi-Baker district has received, we now qualify, since we received too much, so much money that they do a grant audit as well, so that has to be included in that, so that's the increase with that. Line 720 is the SAU support, so that's the allocation this year, it's up $23,641, and that's based on your formula that's in place for years. Technology coordinator, that includes both,
Assistant,
both
and,
the
yeah,
assistant and the director
The
in
director.
that line.
correct.
Other changes, so if I'll bring you to page 21, applied tech staff, you'll see that's down quite a bit. We just moved some of those services to the guidance,
Chair guidance.
so that's just a change. Page 22, you'll see the principal's office, so line 764, there's salaries there. That includes 3 people, including the principal, the assistant principal, and the athletic director is under that line. Jumping down to secretarial services, that is down a little bit as well, just from a staff exchange. And then page 23 is your custodial services. We are asking for an additional custodian. I don't know if you want to just talk about what
Yeah,
shift?
I'm looking for an additional, to cover, absences and, obviously with the increase in the CTE center, the coverage of the building, the square footage. So this includes, this 20, whatever the, budget I put in includes a new person anticipated. I'm hiring a sub now as we speak, and they're working for a substitute pay, but I'm asking for a full-time position for next year.
How many will that be, Bruce, at this point?
8.
8 people, okay. And now, those are all evening shifts except for the day?
No, there's one that starts in the day that works with the facilities director or the manager. Then there's 3 that work the afternoon to 11. And then there's 3 or 4 that work the 11 to the 6 o'clock shift.
Okay, thank you.
Bringing your attention down to just some of the other pieces, so obviously inflation has hit us a little bit in some areas, including the rubbish removal, repairs and maintenance, that's gone up, and that's, do you want to talk about the aged
Sure.
floor equipment?
Yeah, as you recall, last time I talked about the getting ready for the cafeteria, even though it's privatized, we own all the equipment down there, and some of it's seen better days. So I put $30,000 in there, anticipating whether I'm going to need the oven or the walk-in. So that's on that piece. The new bathroom cleaner machine, we haven't replaced that in a while, especially with our new bathrooms that we put in. And we anticipate, obviously, as Skylar talked about it before, redoing the cafeteria ones next year and the north wing in the summer. So that would cover that piece there.
Do you want to talk about the front entrance real quick?
Sure. The front entrance is seeing better days. That's the 80,000 that you see that I put in there. And I got that quote from a couple of vendors. That's taking that piece completely down and redoing. If you notice, when you come into the front entrance, the concrete it's just not holding. It hasn't been done. We've patched it for years. And this would include the railings, the new paving coming into the front and taking that front piece down. So you just see the exterior of the front of the building. You know, I guess some of the comments I got, well, the kids have the front entrance that closes, so I can keep kids in bed, weather or whatever, in that front lobby and still keep the doors secure on that piece after. But that would cover that cost on anticipating removing that and repaving the front entrance.
But that's something we can discuss too.
Yeah, we can discuss,
something
yeah.
that
You
you
can
can come back to.
look at that at the end of the year too, if you want.
Do you want to go right down to the new bathroom? Well, you already
I did,
covered that.
and I did the kitchen.
Yeah. All right, moving on to care and upkeep of ground services. So this is your,
This-
this is, you go ahead.
Yep, this is, good gracious of Plymouth University, they gave us a sweeper. I think Sam would know what a sweeper is if you've gone to Fenway Park. The machine that goes around the sand or whatever. That ours is gone. It's had its lifespan. It's been here since I've been here. So that's a $30,000 piece of equipment. And then there's a sweeper that we're looking for the winter months that would cover the front. That's at $18,000 on the new equipment line.
So that's an 843, 844.
Right.
The Parks and Rec building grounds that we've talked about.
So those are those two, the new equipment, the replacement equipment. If you can recall, we spent $190,000 this year. We replaced the truck, we replaced the other truck too, so we're down, but still that 31,000 is a sweeper for the field.
Moving towards students' transportation, so your line 847 is your regular bus contract, so there's the bus contracts going to and from schools. Then you have line 849, which is your special ed transportation costs, and that's usually associated with any day placements going out of district. That covers that. Also has gone up significantly, as you can see, over the past few years with that cost. And then your athletic programs remains the same for that. Looking at other field trips, we have the outdoor rec leadership in there as part of their budget that we had discussed earlier. And then page 25, line 872, that's your school resource officer. You're paying 72% of that individual's salary if that was a question that would come up. So to the Plymouth Police Department. Right now, there's obviously that you'll see in the past few, on line 881, you'll see previous construction projects in there. That can be determined at a later date. There's nothing in there now. There's the debt services there. And then on page 26, you see your health insurance summary. And the GMR is at 3.7% this year, which is lower than last year. And then dental insurance is at 1.5%. So right now, we're looking at just in appropriations, and I'll have the default budget for you at the next meeting, as well as your revenue page to kind of look at everything. But just in appropriations, you're up a little over 4%. So we could definitely look at that at the next meeting too. But take a look at it. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any between now and then, and as well as the next board meeting, so.
Questions? Sam?
Just an observation, because, so the budget, so 4.18% is $702,000. I just was trying to do some rough math along the way. Based on all the contracts we're locked in with the CBA, the special ed, health insurance, we really don't have any control over, I calculated roughly 600,000 out of the 700,000 increase. We're locked into contracts, that's what it is. So there's really, my gut impression is it's a pretty tight budget. There's not much fat in here at all because it's salary based. And I think, if I recall, Dan Rossner would say that generally our 70 to low 70% of our budget is salaries and expenses, right? So just a comment, I was trying to roughly go through what we actually control, and we don't actually control too much based on the contracts that we're currently in. And we have no control over, what the buses are gonna charge us. We have no control over our special ed placements. We have no control over most of it, actually, at least at this point.
Yeah, I was making that same observation, Sam, like, what do we do? Because there's not much there we can trim.
Yeah, the only piece that you could maybe look at is the front entrance and discuss that piece, but other than that, most of them are contracted services and obligations. Yeah.
Right, okay.
But if you think of anything, let me know, and I'd be happy to look at other options, or if you'd like me to.
Okay, any other questions?
What's the timetable for this, Cal, in terms of when do we need to have the budget, like how many drafts we go through and when we need
So
to-
typically, you have finished it up pretty quickly because the Pemi-Baker district is an SB2 town, so we have to, or SB2, and so we have to get that budget pretty early. Usually by December, you have it wrapped up. Your December meeting, it's approved.
Okay.
So beginning of December. So usually we'll have the discussion next month, and whether it's an approval at that point or not. And then really if we need to go to that December meeting to put the final touches on it, we do, to bring it to the deliberative session and then it goes.
So if people have any concerns, we should voice them very early on, is what you're
Yes,
saying.
yes,
Raise them at the
Yeah.
next meeting.
yeah.
And the next one is on the 15th.
Yeah, full board meeting instead of the committee, just so you can have that opportunity to have the full board here to move it forward if you need to. Just gets a little tight between the holidays. November's pretty short, same with December, so.
Right, okay, Barbara?
My question was about dates, so we're gonna do this. in the
Okay.
discussion. Thank you.
Okay. All right, great. All right, so we hit the board meeting, we're gonna change that. Privilege of the floor, second of the evening, does anyone, yes, come on up. I need your name, town.
I'm Lucy Boschman. I'm from Ashland. Good evening. Never in my life did I think that I would have to stand in front of a group of adults and ask for justice. But this is my second time. I ask how it's okay for this extremely controversial club to preach Christianity and be anti-abortion when my friend is hushed for speaking about her religion. How, in what world is that acceptable? This group has 3 teachers involved, one of which was seen and heard directly, verbally influencing students. Why are there 3 teachers? Why are there signatures on the forms of this club? Why is this allowed? Many students have spoken that this group is a topic in their classroom. Today, November 1st, you all voted based off of one man's opinion. How is the fact that I, along with 7 others, spent over 7 hours, which is more than 1 day of school, in Principal Parsons' office, not a disruption to our education? How is a discussion of a controversial subject, being this club, taking away class time not a disruption to our education? I'm baffled and disappointed that this is being allowed. This vote has made us lose our pride in our school. How am I, as a female student, supposed to be comfortable walking the halls knowing that 3 teachers and multiple students are preaching such things in a public high school? There is only a need for 1 faculty member to be the advisor of this. There are 3. How are there 3? How are they preaching Christianity when those of minorities are hushed? How is this not a disruption to our education? Please rethink this. Spend your night thinking about this. How this club has completely divided our school. Please, reunite us and appeal this group.
Thank you, yes.
Hi, I'm Izzy Rosser from Holiness. I just wanted to say this school is majority of Catholic Christian beliefs, and as someone who is of a minority when it comes to religion in the school, I know what it's like in this school to be discriminated and told and described as just absolutely nasty things. And I just feel like by allowing this club that's partially a religious-based idea, you're protecting a certain religion in the school when I, as a minority, wasn't really protected and can't be protected because of how small of a minority I am. And by protecting one majority over the minority, it's just defeating us. And I think that's something you should think about.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Yeah, Seth Papatroni. I just to the point. There are groups called Atheists for Life that are pro-life, and so to be pro-life is not a necessarily religious idea whatsoever. I looked at the pamphlet, it said it wasn't preaching Christianity by any objective standard. So anyway, just appreciate what you guys did. Good job. Thanks.
Any other questions, comments? Or I should say comments. Yes.
Ann Blanchard, I teach science here, and Lucy, to your request of thinking about how maybe to unify moving forward with this, one thing that we worked on not that long ago is the vision of the graduate, and we all came together, and although we have different opinions within the school, we came together with community members and student groups, faculty and staff, and we worked together to formulate this vision of the graduate and what we would like to see in our students moving forward. And one of the things included on that was to value diverse opinions. And so moving forward to recognize the importance of, that we might not all be in agreement with what we feel, what we pursue, but to respect the person's right and the group's right to do that, and to value diverse opinions is something that we honor as a school. So that might unify us moving forward, just to recognize that there's really no existential threat to anyone having this group up and started. And I feel as though it's important that we do come together, and so that as a school, we're not divided. And if we can move forward in that regard and looking at the vision of the graduate and being able to pursue those things that people feel strongly about, that they have opinions about, and even though they're not the same as ours, that we just move forward and respect that. That's what I'm proposing as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Board member concerns? Anyone have anything? All right, I need a motion to go into non-public for
Personnel.
personnel, yes.
I make the motion going on. I'll second.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna do roll call. Ms. Christie,
Yes.
Sam, okay, and Bonnie. Great, thanks, everyone.